Hello,
Hey,
everybody. We're back. Life Unfiltered.
been what, about a month?
Yeah, pretty close. Pretty close, but we're back going again. So, but
Yeah, I needed the break to try to get through the initial part of
yeah,
recovery.
after
It's-
everything you told me before the show, yeah, you needed the break. You needed the break.
It was rough. What I was going to tell you is getting through recovery. I've been talking to either Tammy Rage or I've been watching YouTube videos and Googling. And I told you I haven't had a doctor to talk to. They were just, that's how I've been getting through the recovery by the seat of my pants, just
Right. Well, I
based
know.
on my limited medical past and plastic surgeons on YouTube.
Yeah. Oh, I know how things are going like that. Let's see. This week, Tammy's got to go in for a bone density test
Okay.
tomorrow. And then
Wow.
Christine, my partner on the food truck, goes in tomorrow. Yeah, let's see. Wait a second. I got to get my dates right here. Is it tomorrow? No, goes in Thursday. Tammy goes in Thursday, and Christine goes in Thursday for a pacemaker.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. She's already
Okay.
been to the hospital twice with her heart. So they set her up this time to put a pacemaker in.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
kind
we got a lot going on this week.
of. Hi, Bill.
So
I want to tell you, Bill is another person who checked on me every single day when I
yeah,
was down there. Now, once I was home, he checked on me some, but as he saw I was doing better, um, it wasn't quite so much. But when I was down there every single day, he checked on me. So, like I said, there were a few people who would, check on me and keep up with me, and that meant a lot. But um, yeah, um, Bill, again, I appreciate it. And to your wife, Tammy, and Tammy Rage, I really, really appreciate them as well.
yeah. She's been keeping me informed on a lot of it because I've been real busy working on this food truck, getting
Yeah.
it. I got maybe 2 days left on it. Is all I got left to do on it,
Okay.
and then it's ready to be up and running.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question about Tammy's bone density test. I'm kind of
Uh-huh.
ignorant on that. Is that to see about osteoporosis or something like? Okay,
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it is.
I was Bill. Yeah, it was really scary that first week, especially the first couple of days. I mean,
Yeah.
it was horrendous. Um, okay, so osteoporosis. Okay. Well, y'all let us know how she does, or at least let me know.
Oh, I will. I will.
I'll
Yeah.
message her.
Right. Because we got
Yeah.
to do that. I got to take her to get that bone density test done. And as soon as we're done with that, we got to head to Kansas City to KU to be with Christine down there.
Right.
'Cause she's getting the pacemaker put in. So,
Mhm.
and everything, make sure that all goes all right. But yeah, it's just been crazy. Weather's been crazy up
It
here.
really is.
Now, we've been lucky. We haven't had any of the bad storms that's been going around. Yeah. But
I knew what you meant.
no, we're just in a cool spell, which is nice, and rain, light rain. So that's all we've been getting.
In a way, I don't mind the cool because I haven't been getting out much. It's still been a little hard, but like I said, I haven't had the recovery I'm supposed to. I mean, I'm okay and getting through, but I think had I gone somewhere else where I would have had the proper care, I would be a little further along.
Oh yeah.
So I'm taking it kind of slow because I'm starting to drive now, but I won't go more than a few miles from my house, and back getting in and out of my car, especially those seats and the way they're made. I kind of fall down into them and
Yeah.
and I get to where I'm hurting so bad. So I haven't really ventured out too much. Um, I met my friend Amanda for dinner one night. And then Sunday, Ken and I went and saw The Last Rodeo, which I will say was an awesome movie. Um, that's about it. That's about all I've ventured out. And well, I went to Starbucks 3 times for a drink.
Right.
And other than that, I've been in the house. So the cool weather, I don't really mind because it makes it easier for me to just focus on this and not want to be out and about. Because I
Right.
know the weather warmed up, it would be even harder for me to not
Well,
be.
I know what you mean. We're enjoying the low 60s for the high and
Mhm.
everything because
That's what it is.
by Saturday it's supposed to be up in the mid 80s. So with this rain in mid 80s, it's going to be humid and feel like it's 95 degrees out.
I'm pulling up the weather real quick to see when we warm up.
Uh, no, we're getting this food truck done and everything this week so that we can get it all inspected and licensed and everything to do a couple of little jobs up here in town before the big farmers market uh,
Okay.
from Saturday. So we got a lot going on,
Awesome.
but
So,
I was
do you
up
have
there earlier doing the show, but the internet out there wasn't that great, so I had to come back in the house to get it finished up. But yeah, it's looking real good in there.
That's awesome. Are you gonna post pictures?
Oh yeah, you can go to the dinner bus
Okay.
on Facebook, right? And you'll see pictures of what we've been doing inside the bus.
Okay.
Christine put a lot of the videos and pictures up and everything. And I got more done in there, so we'll have more pictures up on it. And let's see, and maybe this coming weekend we'll get it all cleaned up and painted,
Mhm.
so it'll be all ready.
That's awesome. Uh, yeah, I was just gonna say one more thing about going through this whole process real quick, and then I figure we can move on to politics and kind of catching up on that. Um, what I was going to share that I think was the most amazing thing. I told my kids that night, the night I had my surgery, when they came back waking me up, Mommy, Mommy, we can still see your blood on the floor. I still didn't realize that my lady parts had been out in front of everybody in the hotel. I didn't realize that till the next day when I was awake, and put that on, and it wasn't covering me. And I looked at Ken, I said, I came through the hotel in this yesterday and they didn't put clothes under. I said, was I like this yesterday? And he didn't want to answer me.
Mhm.
And I started crying. I said, you mean I not only was leaving a trail of blood and body fluid everywhere, I had my lady parts exposed. I said, that way everybody was just clearing the way and gawking.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, my drain tube. Oh, I had compression socks. I can't say I didn't have clothes. I had compression socks on up to my knees with the drain tube clipped to them. Good to see you, Ruth. But I told my kids, they kept talking about those 2 women that came to help, the ones I told you about. And I told my kids, I said, I wouldn't be surprised if those 2 women were angels.
Mm-hmm.
I said, God knew Ken couldn't get me up there by himself. And sometimes God sends angels to help us. He knows what we need. And
Did
I
Kim
said,
get their names?
I did not. I was barely opening my
No,
eyes.
did Kim get their names?
Oh, no, he didn't. As soon as we got in the room, they walked me over to the bed, and Ken went to turn me around and try to get me up on the bed and the pillows. And he turned around to talk to them, and they were already going out the door. Never
Yeah,
saw them again.
they were angels.
And I told my kids, I used it as an opportunity to talk to them a little bit about God. And I said, you know, I said, as horrible as this looks to you guys, and y'all are seeing things that y'all should have never seen. I said, I had no idea it was going to be like this. And I'm sorry that you kids are here having to see this. And I said, as horrible as it is, I said, some of these things, and I talked about those two women, my lymphatic massage therapist, and just different things. I said, God's still letting us know that He's here. He didn't leave us. I said, as bad as it seems, this is a reminder that of how faithful God is. I said, God never promised us that life would be easy and there would be no bumps in the road and no pain. But what He promised us is that if we believe in Him, that He will be there with us. And I said, these are things to show us that God is still here with us. And then I would get those little messages from Tammy, or, Tammy raged with everything she's going through, and she took the time out to help walk me through some of this. There were just so many things where I saw God just working through it, as bad as as it was. And I just really wanted to share it because, um, sometimes it's easy to just focus on the negative and, and not see where God is working. And that a lot of times, He's in the midst, still working and doing. And I just wanted to put that out there, because
Right.
I know some people watching the show may not believe in Him. Some do. But I just wanted to throw that out there, just how faithful He was in the midst of that storm. Um, yes, it has been a wonderful weekend. I went to a surgical center. Insurance wouldn't pay for my surgery, Ruth. Um, and there's a review for the place. I can pull it up and show y'all. This lady was there the same time I was. And if you read her, I mean, it's like a book. Her review's not a paragraph, it's like reading a book. And her story in that review is just like me. I mean, if you read this review, you're reading what happened to me, even
Right.
though it's a different person. That's what it is. I had to go to the ER up here to get that drain tube taken out. The ER doctor asked where I went. He pulled him up and he said, "Oh, yeah." He said, "That's one of those places that runs you through like cattle." I said, "Yeah, I found out once I was down there." He said, "I can't believe they sent you home with this drain tube in." He said, "The reason it's hurting so bad, you don't have any more fluid, not enough for the drain tube. So it's just sitting there irritating that skin and has no more function. And part of my skin down there ripped where they put the stitches to hold it in." So he said, "It's got to come out."
Mm-hmm.
He was upset with that place that they sent me home with it. He said, "If you still had enough fluid for it, that's one thing." They said, "You can't get anything out," like he's feeling all over my stomach. He's like, "What are they doing down there?" It was horrible. But that's why I say, there were so many things that would happen here and there where I felt like God was really showing me, hey, I'm still here, and He was sending people through various ways, whether it's the two women, the man at the airport who got me the wheelchair. Um, you know, Bill would message just at the right time. I'd be sitting there crying, and here's a message from Bill, or one of those little memes from your wife, just little things here and there throughout the whole thing where I would just have to sit there and say, okay, God, I'm going to be okay. I'm tough. I'm tough. I'm going to get through this. And thank you. I see what you're doing here and I see how you're working.
Right.
And so we're 4 weeks post op today. And like I said, I'm starting to drive and get out. I can cook quick meals, nothing where I have to stand there for any period of time, but we're definitely getting through. Like I said, I just think my recovery is going a little slower because I've never talked to a doctor down there outside the ER doctor since I was put to sleep. I mean, even when I went home, no doctor. I went back to set up the lymphatic massage therapist. No doctor, no nothing. Like I was laying there in the OR as she's rubbing my arm as the anesthesiologist is putting me to sleep. And that's the last I saw her was standing over me, just staring, waiting for me to go to sleep. Never saw her again.
Mm,
So, I'm flying by the seat of my pants through this. So I think it's been a little slower.
yeah.
Um, so, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm getting through it. I'm recovering. I'm making progress. So if it's a little slower than what it might have been, it's okay. I've not had any setbacks or anything major. So we're good. Um, but anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. Just, for those of you going through your own storm, everybody's storm doesn't have to be the same. But if you believe in God, just know He is faithful and, don't overlook the little things that might just be God letting you know, hey,
Right.
I'm still here.
Oh, I
So,
know.
what have you seen on the political spectrum that has caught your attention? I
Oh
see
boy.
that.
Let's see. Oh, really, I haven't been watching a whole lot because I've been busy, but there's been a few things to catch. I've been catching a lot with uh, Robert Kennedy Jr.
Hmm.
is taking a lot of stuff out.
Yeah.
That's real impressive. I watched a YouTube video where a guy wrote a book about all these ingredients and stuff in it, showing exactly what products had these in that Kennedy's talking about. There are going to
Yep.
be a lot of people upset. Okay, what's Tammy want? Hello, hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what the Google pin is again? Because my all of a sudden my computer, I have to put it in before it'll let me go anywhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. You're.
and it says Google by my desk.
Yeah. Okay. Well, after I get off the show, I'll have to call and tell you
Um,
because I'm on the show.
well, no, yeah,
Huh?
you won't get off the show until close to her being home. So
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, you're okay. She hung up. She has more problems with computers. I swear. The other day, her Facebook, she went to block somebody and her Facebook got all messed up completely.
Oh, no.
I had to go in and work on it. I worked on it for 2 hours trying to get everything straightened out. And finally, it got to the point where it said, you have to reset everything. I went, shit. So I reset everything on the computer. I said, now we got to set everything back up on there, your Facebook and everything that you do. Oh my God. And it was all because she was trying to block one person sending her a message.
Oh, wow.
And I said, I can tell you what happened. They hacked the entire computer, is what happened. and
That's
stuff.
terrible.
So I had to go in and reset it just like it was a brand new computer. I said,
Mhm.
hopefully we don't lose all your pictures
Mhm.
and everything, because I would have never heard the end of that one.
Right. Oh, that'd be major for me.
Yeah. So anyway, I got it all set up. Now she's got something to do with her Google account. So she probably can't get on Facebook again.
Oh no.
Yeah. But she's over babysitting, so
Yeah.
she'll just have to wait a little bit.
No.
Yeah.
What you were talking about with Robert Kennedy, the other thing I started doing even before I had surgery was changing my diet and stuff. Now, I'm going to be honest and say it was not on the level of turning cans over and reading ingredients and stuff, but there was a lot of stuff that were just common sense. Hey, not good, not healthy. Um, and then after my surgery, I really started buckling down. Um, but I saw a video, and I don't know if it's the same one you saw or if it's just another one similar talking about all that stuff. And man, I was blown away. I was like, oh my gosh,
Of all the products that
how are we supposed to
everything is
be
in,
healthy?
yeah.
Like, you know, even when we're eating something
including
that we think is healthy, it's not.
including this stuff.
What is it?
This is titanium dioxide that we use on lasering. It's a
Okay.
food product.
Really?
They're wanting to take this stuff out of the food product. This is in all your cakes and candles, and I mean anything you can think of. Look up titanium dioxide, and you'll see it in a lot of your products. It's food
That's
grade.
terrible.
So luckily, I bought a whole bunch of last me a long time, because if they start taking this out, I can especially make sure this stuff is going to get very expensive.
Well, it's not hard to figure out why Americans are having so many
Right,
health
right.
issues. It's ridiculous.
It's the preservatives and a lot of this stuff, and a lot of that stuff that they showed in that video isn't allowed in the UK, right?
Right.
Which is your red dyes, your green dyes, different dyes like that, other products in there. And I mean, yeah, it's ridiculous. Hi, Mike. I haven't seen DJ on his show, Mike. What's up with that? Mike's in the chat room over there. His night train. That's
Okay.
Mike, one of
Hi,
my
Mike.
buddies over there. He does 3D printing and lasering and stuff like that. But no, these products, that guy, he did an hour-long video, and it showed everything. And then he would go down through it, which, of course, we all know the cereals.
Mhm.
Oh, he's been camping. Okay.
And camping.
Uh, your cereals, your Fruit Loops, your Cocoa Pebbles, your everything like that, just
Mhm.
listed and down there. Which, if they take them out, that'll probably stop that cereal, because there won't be nothing in there for flavor, color, the kids would want to eat. You know.
Yeah, the video I saw said that it's going to take probably a good 3 generations to get people used to eating food without this because we're so
Uh-huh.
used to it that it's
Well,
not going to come
it's
easy.
going to take
And our children and grandchildren are pretty used to it. So, they're
right,
saying
right.
it'll
You
probably
also got
take.
to look at, it's going to take them a while to revamp their recipes, but in reality, it's not, because whatever product you got here in the UK, in the United States, that sells over in the UK,
Mhm,
two different products,
mhm.
same thing, but two different products. All they
Right,
got to do is shut down the United States version and do the UK, and they'll be all right. Just double up on it,
right.
right? That's not a big issue, but there's a lot of them that's going to try to revamp their ingredients to get it similar to it, which is
Right,
going
Bill.
to raise the price of that product.
Mhm.
Cereals are outrageously priced anyway,
Oh yeah.
and things like that. But I mean, it's like all these preservatives in your chicken, your beef, your pork. Everybody, we're getting our stuff straight from the farms. A lot of the
Mhm.
stuff we're getting from the Amish farms, which I know they're not putting anything in it
Right.
and stuff. So, and that's one thing that they're all, and the Amish is USDA approved. That's how they
Mhm.
sell it through their stores, right? So on our food truck, we're going through them to get our products. That way it don't have this stuff in it and it tastes
Right.
better. It cooks better. Remember the video you did with the chicken,
Mhm.
stringy like that? Yeah, we bought some from Walmart that I've
Oh, see?
noticed a couple of times like that, right? The chicken we get from the Amish, never had a problem with it.
Right.
And it's all them damn preservatives and feed and these chickens that are put in this pen that can't move 6 inches. All they do is eat, drink, and crap and grow
Right.
and then be butchered. Yeah, real fruit dies.
Yeah. Ken
Exactly, Bill.
cracked me up one night because I was talking about, how I was moving the pink Himalayan salt and to the back of the cabinet, and I had bought Celtic sea salt. And so I said, I'm switching this on over to the Celtic. And Ken was like, I haven't been eating that Himalayan salt. Yes, you have. He says, no, I haven't. I eat salt. It is salt. It's just a little better. It's not
Right.
processed all the way down like table salt. I said, Ken, I don't remember the last time I bought table salt. I've been buying pink Himalayan salt till I learned about Celtic salt. Now I'm switching us over to that. And he's arguing with me, no, I wouldn't. And he's making these faces like there's something wrong with pink Himalayan salt. I guess
Uh,
just because it's different,
yeah.
not what he's used to. And I said, Ken, I said, you have been eating dinner here at home, and when you're not at work, and if I make lunch, then you've been eating lunches, breakfast if you're home and I cook breakfast for you. I said, you've been eating pink Himalayan salt for a long time. He said, really? Yeah, I took him into the cabinet. I said, there's no table salt. I've been using this pink Himalayan. And I said, now that's getting shoved to the back. And I got the Celtic sea salt. And he was blown away. And I'm like, but see, I said, you didn't even know. I said,
Hmm.
you had no idea. So I said, it's not that there's some drastic difference in flavor where you were eating food, with regular salt one night, then I switches the next, and you're like, oh, what is this? I said, you had no idea you were eating it. And
Right.
I said, it's a little healthier. And I said, this is supposed to be a little healthier than the Himalayan. So I said, I think you're going to survive. I grew up, on margarine. That's what I was used to. And I just kept buying it, creature of habit. And then when we were doing that show on uh, uh, oh my gosh, their name just Bill, help me out here. Rockefellers and all them, and the oil companies and stuff.
Yeah.
That's when it really clicked. Um, I mean, like, yes, it did get salty, but it really clicked in my head. What are you doing? What are you feeding to your children?
Uh-huh.
So I cut us off cold turkey, margarine in the trash, and I started buying real butter. I even started making butter sometimes. So yeah, Ken's been I'm trying to do it a little bit slow here, switching some things over because I don't want to throw him in total shock. But he's looking at me like, "What's going on?" I said, "We gotta start trying to make changes where we can." I said, "Honestly," I said, "it's at the point it's really hard for Americans to really try to eat healthy, and to do it is extremely pricey." But I said, "There are changes that we can make that are not going to be extremely drastic to the
Right,
pocketbook
right,
and all that, and at least start making changes, and just continually make changes."
right.
So, um, but yeah, we're working on it. And I didn't see the video you're talking about. I saw another one because this one wasn't an hour long, but it
I'll
was
see
a
if I can find it and I'll send it to you and everything because it was, I mean, a video that keeps me interested on stuff like that for an hour is a good video. It's got
yeah,
some really good topics on it and stuff. And I mean, yeah, there's going to be some changes in the food industry. I see within the next 2 years, between now and 2 years, because Robert Kennedy is going to get a lot of this stuff kicked out.
yeah, that's good. Um, Anything else that's caught your attention? There's been so much going on.
There has, but well, a lot that's caught my attention, what I have seen on there, doesn't really have a lot to do with the political side.
Mhm.
Why are we again having so many of these damn little airplanes crashing everywhere
I am not up to that.
and these mass shootings and just over in where was it? They did the parade in Spain where the car was in the middle of the group of people and they started beating on it and it took off and ran over 50 people.
Mhm.
Times are getting crazy out here, folks.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with these crazy ass people that's out running around.
Well, I think a lot of it is that people are not being held accountable. A lot of them are, uh, there's always an excuse for people's behavior. And to me, it does slightly go on the political thing just
It,
because what better way to keep society, no matter the country, to keep society, at odds. So,
society in an uproar about what's going
but
on here and there. And you look
but
at,
people aren't being held accountable. I think, if you look and it kind of to me somewhat ties into the foods and different things like that because the more they feed us stuff, the more it's going to affect our health, our including our mental health, and different things. Is yeah, I I agree, Bill. I
right,
think that there is a certain amount of politicization, um, to it because how is it that all of a sudden everybody's just going crazy?
yeah.
That
Well, a
that
lot of them are doing it
you
because
know,
Trump is president. They're trying to make him look like he don't have control, not doing his job correct and everything like that. He's doing the best he can up there.
mhm.
Now, the ones I do give credit to on a situation and holding people accountable is this big prison break down there in New Orleans. Do you see all that went on?
When
Where
did
10
that?
of them, 10 of them escaped out of a prison, right?
Okay.
They have caught 8 of them. They have also charged one of the maintenance workers, employees at the prison, has been charged helping them. And several other people have been charged in aiding and abetting them and hauling them around. The last 2 they caught was in Texas. So it, you know, they're going after 'em. which is good, and they're holding people accountable.
Okay. Yeah, I just pulled it up.
Yeah, it that's been a wicked story ever since it broke.
I don't know how I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's been all over the place. But the problem is when they broke out was like, what was it, 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, something like that. And the prison didn't notify the highway patrol, any of the police stations, or anything for 8 hours.
Wow.
That was the bad part. But they had video of them breaking out, going across, jumping, getting over the fence, and running across 6 lanes of traffic. Cars were going by. Don't you think these cars driving by would be calling 911? Man, there's these idiots running across the highway
Yeah,
over here by the prison, you know,
that's crazy.
especially when you got 10 of them.
Right. Yeah, Bill, I've seen a lot of that. Um, and I've said that many times, well, many times, but over the years I've been on the network, um, that people no longer think with their brain, they think with their emotions. And so many times I've been on, whether it was this show or Conservative View, and I've heard no logical argument to some things. It's all been purely emotional. And it's so frustrating to me. And, I try to watch that frustration. I don't always do a good job, but I really get so frustrated when all I hear to an argument is emotion.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot live our lives based on emotion. At some point, logic has to factor in. And, you're talking about how it's not all Black people, of course. So I want to clarify it's not Black people as a whole, but there are Black people out there calling for a race war. And if you listen to their arguments, it's pretty much all emotion, trying to disguise it as some kind of logic. Well, we've been oppressed since, Well, who hasn't had stuff in? I mean, I don't know of any country that hasn't had slaves and slave owners.
Right.
And yet, how come no other race of people are screaming that they're still oppressed today except the Black people? And but it goes back to me, not back to me. To me, it goes back to people not thinking with any kind of logic or critical thinking, to understand what's being done to us. This is I cannot talk as a society, that they're playing on people's emotions,
Mm-hmm.
and we're letting them. Not all of us. A lot of us are sitting back and using critical thinking and stuff and saying, now, wait a minute. But so many people are just led by emotion because they make it sound good. Well, what about this? What about that? I mean, I even hear it on the food stamp situation. Well, if they pass it, you can't buy soda and cake. There's going to be kids going out there without birthday cake and stuff. And I'm like, well, if all your groceries are paid for and you can't even afford a $2 box of cake mix and $1 something thing of icing, bake it. If you can't afford that, what are you doing so wrong with your finances? Because you got food stamps to buy everything else. It's not about a birthday cake. But again, it's an emotional argument to suck people in, to get them thinking, oh, these poor children. Well, I'm sorry if they're, I, I don't know. It's all just playing with the emotions, whatever the topic is.
Mm-hmm.
And people have got to wake up and understand that it's a game being played to keep everybody divided and not really thinking. They just want us feeling, because if they can keep us wrapped up in that, it keeps us reacting to that emotion. So that's just my thoughts on it.
Oh, I agree with you on that. I mean, it's like Bill says, the deep state is running out of stuff to do. Their masters can't direct them anymore. There's a lot of that
Hmm.
truth like that going on and everything, but there's a lot of it. I still think a lot of people's getting paid to do a lot of this stuff.
Right. I
You
do
know,
too.
I mean, it's crazy. Like I said, YouTube every morning getting up. There's been a mass shooting of some type. There's been a plane crash. There's been a dump truck run into a house. That one still has me confused.
But even on the mass shootings and stuff, when I talked about no accountability, they want to blame the guns.
Right,
So again, people are not being held accountable
right. You can't blame
for
the
their
gun.
actions. I've got
And,
my shotgun sitting behind that door there.
right.
I can tell you it's been laying there loaded, and it hasn't one time gotten up and started firing bullets around my house.
No,
you
you
know?
know, they can't blame a gun. A gun doesn't do it. It's the person behind the weapon. It's just like a car crash. Are you going to blame the car? No. You blame the person behind the steering wheel.
Right.
It's no different than that. I mean, it's getting, kind of getting off the subject and everything. I went up to Dollar General to get a can of spray paint the other day to spray
Mhm.
paint some deals, right? Why in the world should I have to show my ID to buy a can of spray paint?
I've had to do that.
Oh, I didn't. I told the girls, I said, this is a bunch of bullshit. You can't tell me by looking at me I'm over 18 or over 21 years of age. Put a damn camera up here so their headquarters can see and I can tell them. I said,
That's
I'm getting tired of this shit. When, when are they going to start having to show an ID to buy gasoline?
Mhm.
That is, I mean, it's getting totally out of hand.
Bill, I did. I
Everybody
tightened
should
it really
train their
good.
firearms, Bill.
Yep, I laid the law down when I bought it. I
Hey,
was
I
like, you
trained this
better buy it.
crossbow. I trained this crossbow. It's not shooting anybody.
Right. That's
Oh,
funny.
man. No, since you've been
I,
gone, I'll tell you a funny story.
okay.
Okay. We've been having noise up in our attic,
Mhm.
right? So I had a trap set out on the back porch back here, and I trapped this big coon.
Mhm.
So I took it out in the country and let it go, to get away from the house. Well, Tammy was in the back bathroom. She goes, "Come here." And I said, "What?" "Listen to this." And I could hear scratching and whimpering. And I
Mhm.
went, "Oh, shit." So I had to get up in the attic, 4 baby raccoons up there, eyes open.
Mm-mm.
They hadn't eaten about 3 or 4 days, right? So they weren't doing too good. So I got them out of there and everything. Christine took them to a lady that was going to rehab them because if you take them conservation, they're going to put them down
Yeah.
because they're babies. So Bobby, yeah, but yeah, they were cute. But that one of them was a ferocious little fart. God, I had leather gloves on. That sucker was still trying to bite me through them. And I was like, you can
Yeah.
get out of here. So yeah, that was exciting. Hmm.
I bet.
Yeah. Because when I found the babies, I was like, okay, was that their mama I took out? Or is mama still around?
Right.
So while I'm up there in this little space trying to catch these little varmints, I got a flashlight. I'm looking around everywhere because I'm like, if mama comes in here, I'm going straight up through the roof,
Yeah. She's
you
gonna be
know.
on the attack.
And I was like, but we got him out of there. So that problem, knock on wood, is done because our neighbor across the street, he's got a big pan outside his front porch that he puts cat food in for the cats.
Right.
But the raccoons like it better.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Oh, I've went out there many a times just as it's getting dark and see 3 or 4 coons, and I went, me and the crossbow's going to have fun here real quick. They're cute, but I can't stand them.
They're
They
cute for me.
tear a lot of stuff up.
Right. No, I don't want them in my yard.
But yeah,
Uh, so did you see where the mayor of Chicago, I mean, not Eric Adams, Brandon Johnson, he was honoring Africa Day on Memorial Day.
yeah, I heard something about that.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's why I don't live in Chicago.
It just baffles me how we have people being voted in, so often, who don't seem to really have any interest in America,
Right.
you know.
Especially when they're a state
Excuse me.
leader and they
Mm,
want to change stuff that's through our federal for our veterans. No, that I don't totally agree with at all.
I agree, Bill. I think so too.
Yeah, they want a race war.
Oh,
Not only do they want a race war, they want a war between red and blue.
hmm, yeah, I believe it.
You okay?
Yeah, it just still hurts to sneeze.
Okay.
That's all it is. Normally, if I have to sneeze, I hold my stomach really
Uh huh.
tight. But being on here, I was like, that's going to look so rude if I do that because then I'm just sneezing out in the open air and I could feel it coming. I'm like, oh, this is going to hurt. But no, I'm fine. Like I said, it just hurts to sneeze, or I can laugh some without it hurting. But if I am really laughing, I don't know, that's painful. I'll have to start holding my stomach to try to hold those muscles still a little bit. So, yeah, we're still at that stage, but definitely not where we were. So, yeah, I'm fine. No, I just see all this stuff, Ilhan Omar and a lot of the crap she spews. And it's like, how is she allowed to be in Congress? I mean, I get that she was elected, I'm going to assume it was fair, I'm not going to get into, oh, it had to be rigged right now. But I just watched this and I'm like, how are you allowed to be in Congress and assure the Somalians that Somalia will never have to worry as long as she's in Congress and all that? You're not representing Somalia.
No,
You're
you're
representing
representing the people
Americans,
that elected you.
right?
And last I knew, Somalia wasn't part of us.
Correct. It just baffles me that we have all these people taking different positions on all levels of government who seem to have other interests. And like I said, the American people keep voting him in. You
Mm-hmm.
know why? I think it goes back again to playing on people's emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And again, people don't step back to use their brain and say, hey, what's happening here? They just hear these things that trigger these emotions and are like, yes, yes, this is the one. Look at Jasmine Crockett and how ratchet she is.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you can get too much more ghetto than Jasmine Crockett. And
No.
they're propping her up now as the Democratic darling, and I'm like, who wants that representing them? I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying she has no value as a person. She is a human being, she has a family and stuff. I'm not trying to say that. But if you cannot act, in Congress or the Senate with some kind of dignity and self-respect, how are we supposed to trust you to make decisions when you can't even keep yourself in check? Your behavior, you have no control. The stuff she spews about white people, and that's allowed. I mean, it's baffling. But I've seen where a lot of people are commenting. I need to check up on comments too. I see Bill posting. Um, but I see people posting that there needs to be laws in place where to even be in Congress or Senate, you should have to be born and raised in America to
Right.
serve. You shouldn't be able to just come over from other countries and be here and all of a sudden run and get elected in because your loyalty probably is not going to be America. And we see it so many times now. Unfortunately, Jasmine Crockett would not be affected by that. But
Right.
it's just baffling that the American people see this behavior and hear this stuff being talked about and seem to be okay with it. Where did BLM, Antifa, and LGBTQ go? Slipped
Yeah.
off the earth. I'm still seeing a lot of it. In fact, Antifa just did a big riot. Did you see that, Carl? The Hold on, let me see if I can look it up. Oh, and I'm hearing that with this Carmelo Anthony case, that if he's found guilty, there's people warning that we're going to see another George Floyd era.
Oh shit. Yeah.
That's coming out now that they're ready for him to get convicted because they're saying the only reason he's charged is because he's black. No, he killed somebody, you
Yeah.
know.
Oh, I know. They're gonna make everything out of it.
So no, I don't think we have seen the last of BLM and
Oh
Antifa.
no. They're just
LGBTQ, I think, is a little more suppressed right now.
they're in the background just waiting for the right time to come out.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah. University of Washington over Israel, and that was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. And we'll see
Yeah, I
what
can't
goes on with
remember
the new
exactly.
pope.
I knew I'd seen something. I just couldn't place exactly when. But yeah, apparently 3 weeks ago, the Democrat Party won't exist soon. I don't know, Bill. What makes you say that? I don't know. I have a feeling they're going to end up finding a way to bring it all together, and they're going to go full blown trying to keep Republicans from winning again. I think it's going to be on a scale we haven't seen before with trying to cheat and stuff, unless we can get enough done
Right.
to make it pretty much impossible. If I'm not talking, I'm sleeping or dead. Let them come. Trump still has one. The National Guard federalized. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I see the way a lot of these officials are talking about the what was it, 59 Afrikaners coming over and making that a race issue.
I
You
know
know,
it.
they don't want them here because they're white. So there's no genocide because they're white. There's no genocide. And they're talking about that's the only reason Trump's letting them in. And it's like, no, we've let in black and brown refugees since Trump's been in office, but they have to come the right way. He hadn't put a complete ban. I forget, Caroline Levitt was talking about that. Um, I'll have to find her video because she was sharing how many Trump has let in. Um, so, basically her point was this notion that they're being let in because they're white and all the black and brown people are being stopped. That's not correct. The ones we're trying to get out of our country are the ones who are committing crimes beyond just being here illegally. Um, and it doesn't matter if they're black, brown, white. They can be green with purple polka dots. If you have a deportation order, you're committing crimes while you're here and stuff, you're going to be among the first to go.
Yep.
Uh, so it's not a race issue, but right now, everything is being pushed. Well, it's been for a while, it's not right now. But it seems like they're trying to escalate it more to cause a race war, like you said. And yeah, Bill, I've seen so much on it. My mom is in Uganda. She's lived there since 2018 now. That's not South Africa, but she's still over there. When I first started hearing about this was, I want to say a year or two ago, I was hearing about a little village that had white missionaries and doctors and stuff in it, and one of these groups of, I don't know, whatever you want to call them, radicals or whatever, went through this little village killing all the white people. And I called my mom and I said, "Did you hear what just happened?" And she's like, "Oh, yeah, we hear. We know all about it." I'm like, "And you want to be that close to it?" Well, that's South Africa. I'm not in South Africa. That's not happening here, which I will say is not. It's amazing because all of the Africans that I've talked to that are around her, they love white people. My mom said black Americans think that white people have white privilege in America. They should see how white people are treated in North Africa. She said they practically roll out the red carpet for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, and I was hearing so much, and I'm like, really? And so I talked to a couple people over there that I've kind of met over the years, and I asked them about it, and they said, no, we're embarrassed by what we see from a lot of these Black Americans because they don't know the true history of this. To be acting and saying this stuff, it's embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
And um, and also, so y'all don't hate white people. Like, y'all aren't just nice to my mom. Y'all really like white people. And they're like, we love white people. But they're like, from the time we're little itty bitty, we are taught about slavery. We are taught our role in it. We're not taught that y'all came over and basically invaded and rounded people up. And we know what we did. We know the history. This happened in every country. White people were slaves too. We understand. And they're like, we love white people because when they come over here, they don't treat us back. They're good to us. They're respectful. And we love having white people here. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just so different to hear that, you know, when over here you're treated like you're the plague.
Right.
But no, they do not. They do not. They do not like American black people at all over there.
Mm-mm.
No. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've heard that they're embarrassed because they're black like them, and they're like, "That's embarrassing." But when before I got to be a stay-at-home mom, I was working in a lot of warehouses and factories, and I did get to work with some people from different countries in Africa. And they were the same way. They looked at a lot of the Black Americans here and said the same thing. They're like, what's wrong with them? We don't understand this.
I'll be back in a second.
Okay. Oh, hello, everybody. Um, Bill, what's something that you've been catching up on lately? I know you keep up with a lot. What is something that has caught your attention? Golly, I don't know that I like my face blown up that big. Let me see. Trying to think what else has been going on. Oh, I know we've had the investigation and stuff starting with is it Letitia James Bill who bought the house and stuff in Virginia? I want to say it's Letitia James. Let me see. Yeah, Letitia James. Okay, I want to make sure I had the right name. I thought that was right. Yeah, Letitia James. And from what I'm hearing, uh, some of her charges are the same as what she went after Trump for, and then some of them are worse. So I don't know. A lot of people are saying this isn't something she's going to get out of. So, part of me, I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it. It doesn't seem like we're seeing a whole lot of people truly held accountable and facing consequences. Um, then again, I know we're still not very far into this administration. Um, I guess there's a point of wanting to make sure that you've got a good, solid case, but it just seems like, for the last several years, there's not really been any real accountability. So part of me just says we'll kind of see, but at the same time, I'm also thinking, well, it's about time, that we see some charges brought. Um, so I don't know. That kind of was good to see. Um, Golly, I thought I was more ready for tonight, but I'm having a hard time trying to remember everything I've been seeing. Trying to look and see some of what's here. Um, oh, let's see. You won't see it. Military tribunals are happening and the public isn't allowed to know. So, okay, I get to a point, Bill, you know, military tribunals and a certain amount of maybe secrecy because it is military. But why can't we know anything? I don't know. It just seems like if it's something that affects the country, that we would be allowed to have a certain amount of knowledge. So I guess I'm kind of ignorant on why we wouldn't be allowed to know anything.
On what?
Bill said, excuse me, Bill said you won't see it. Military tribunals are happening, and the public isn't allowed to know. And then he says you can't know until the military does the EBS.
Military talks all the time. So as soon as anything happens, then we find out. Yeah.
Okay. Um, okay.
Yeah. Military doesn't blab. That's right. They don't. They don't talk hardly at all.
Well, that's what I say, to a point. I get it, but it seems like that should only be to a point.
Well, yeah, but with the military, a lot of it, the American people don't need to know because they're trying to protect us or trying to take somebody out.
Hmm. Okay.
So I can understand that part. It's kind of like uh, CIA and FBI when they're investigating something, they don't really want to tell you a lot about it because they're investigating.
That's true.
Military's the same way.
Yeah.
The
If I
military
think
even
about it
hide the
in
lip.
that context, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems like there's so much that we're not seeing, that I guess is part of my acting on emotion there, that is
Hmm.
like, look, we just want to see some people actually held accountable, not just investigated and nothing comes of it. We want some accountability
Yeah.
for things. Yeah, I know, Bill. That's true. Yeah. Um, I don't know. Like I said, it just seems like it's been so long, just waiting, for accountability to happen. Um, what I have trust in is our amazing military. Yeah, I think we have a pretty good military as well.
We do.
Yeah. Um, Bill, I was going to ask you something. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time getting back into this. My brain's just like,
That's all right.
I was going to ask Bill a question and my mind just went blank. I want to blame it on pain meds, but I haven't had pain meds for 3 weeks. uh, Bill, what was I going to ask you about? I don't know. I'll remember as soon as we're off the show. It's good to be back on here, Bill. Like I said, it's just, you know, um, 4 weeks, tonight that I haven't been on here and just trying to get back into the swing of it and stuff. Um, and then, like I said, I've been trying to cram so much in, because I knew Carl and I were supposed to do the show tonight. So I was just trying to cram a bunch of stuff in. And now it's like gone. Um, I don't know. Some of this stuff, probably in the whole scheme of things, is not really that important. Like, I don't know that a lot of people really care about the Letitia James thing, but even that, if I see her convicted, I'm going to be good with that. I mean, I don't guess she's just major, but she was big enough to turn Trump's life upside down. So it'll be nice to just start seeing some kind of accountability. Oh, Bill, I know what I was going to ask you, and then I'll read your comment. Um, what are your thoughts on what I was saying about people um, wanting something passed or added, stating that to be in Congress or the Senate, you should have to be American born and raised, unless you're like in the military, military family that's traveling or something. But, like Ilhan Omar, some of them just coming over and stuff. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it would make a difference or what? Carl, what are your thoughts on that?
I think to hold any office in this country, you should be American born, American citizen,
I agree.
period. And like you said, a lot of it, you know, if your family's in the military and they're around, you're still an American citizen.
Right,
You may not be American born. You could have been born in Japan or Korea, but to an
right,
American family serving, but you're an American citizen,
right, right.
you know. And if somebody applies for citizenship in this country, they should have to wait at least 10 years before running for any office because they are a citizen, but you don't run for office as soon as you become a citizen.
Well, there's people calling for, um, like not even the 10 years because they're saying, if you are coming over, you can still have a dual loyalty and stuff. And if you're going to be passing laws and stuff for America and representing America on that level, you shouldn't have dual loyalties,
Right.
one
You
to
shouldn't have
America and
dual
one to the
citizenship.
country you come from. And
Right.
there's no way to weed that out. It's not saying everybody would, but you can't look at everybody in that situation and say they wouldn't. So they're just saying if you're going to serve in Congress, Senate, anything like that, it shouldn't be, um, now say somebody comes over and gets their citizenship and they have children here, and stuff. Now that wouldn't apply to them, but that can still be tricky, because they can be taught at home. Well, this is your home country, da, da, your ancestry, blah blah blah.
Right.
So, but there's not a way to make sure that there's never anything shady. I mean, we see so much of it. Yeah, that's true. But weren't they? I mean, I get the point of them having dual citizenship with Israel, but weren't they born here? You know, and that's what I see a lot of people being so concerned about is, um, but I guess if they have dual citizenship, that's going to lead to the concern of, well, that's why we send money to Israel and all that stuff. So
Right.
I don't know. Bill's comment: I'm 5'6". I like long walks on the beach, and my
And the
tractor.
tractor is pissing me off. You still having problems with that tractor, Bill?
Yes, yeah, he was messaging me about that.
Oh my God. Him and that tractor.
I agree. I get that, Bill. Yeah, I do. Well, Bill, I am 5'3". I like long walks on the beach, and I don't have a tractor pissing me off.
Y'all short.
I always say I'm not short, I'm fun sized. But
Oh,
Yeah, that stunk because when that's what I was going to tell you. Oh, yes, I'm so glad we're bringing up Florida
They
again.
have the
Oh
dealership's
my
got
God.
your tractor again?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
there is a huge millipede above my head on the ceiling.
Do what?
There's a huge millipede on the ceiling above my head.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Is it a little bitty one or is it one of the
oh,
big
it's a,
ones?
I don't know, about like that.
Okay. I
I
watched
don't know.
a show the other day showing the big ones that are about that.
Oh, no, I'd be
They're
running out
poisonous.
of the house.
They're poisonous.
Well, and my daughter keeps telling me not to kill them because she's like, they eat spiders if they're in your house. Don't kill them. Oh, they're ugly.
Mm.
As long as it doesn't fall down on my head, I'm telling you, if it falls on my
If
head,
it
it goes
falls,
in
we're
my head
gonna have
right
blooper reels forever.
You know,
The
you
show will go
don't even want
viral.
to know the blooper reels that would be happening if that
The,
thing
the
falls.
video will go viral.
Probably so. No, when I was going to
Woman
tell you about Florida.
podcasting and centipede falls on her. Watch.
Oh, no. No, no, no. Oh,
After the show, I'd have to make a real deal and put it on Facebook.
yeah. Oh, no. That's, ugh. Okay. It just looks creepy. All those little legs. It's just sitting still. It's staring at me. It's debating
Yeah.
jumping, I think. um, no, you know what stunk is before I went down there, they told me um, you only have to stay 7 days after. You'll be good to go home. Drain will be out. I said, well, I'll be, able to walk down to the beach because I made sure to get a hotel right on the beach because for me, it wasn't vacation. But I didn't want my kids to be trapped in a hotel room, for 9 days
Right.
and thank you, Ruth. And just be bored out of their mind. They've been wanting to go to the beach the last couple of years. So I was like, hey, if we're going down, just get a room on the beach so they can go out there and play and see the beach and spend some time there. And they were like, yeah, you'll be able, probably your last day or two, you'll be able to walk out to the beach with them. I was in Miami Beach for 9 days, and the closest I got to see the beach was driving in the car across the bridge from Miami Beach to Miami. Our hotel room was on the front side, so we had the main road right below us. And then if I looked out the window kind of to my right, I could see the bay. So, I mean, I guess that's part of the beach, but no, there was no seeing the beach, not even from a window. So I told Ken, I said, you know what? I said, I don't care if I go 2 days and I don't care if I have to go by myself. I said, I love Florida. I've always enjoyed going to Florida. As horrible as that was, I don't want that to be my last trip to Florida. I said, I want that to be my last memory. So I said, I want to get the money together and I want to take another trip down there. And I want to stay at the same place and I want to be completely healed and go just to have some fun and go to the beach and be able to walk up the steps of that hotel without all my parts hanging out and stuff, go as a normal person. And I'm not going to go to the clinic and say anything, but just in my own way of going down there and having fun for a couple days, and just in my own way to do it to say, excuse my language, but F you to the clinic, I'm back. And I did it. I got myself through this, no thanks to y'all. Y'all just kicked me out the door and sent me on my own. It is, Ruth. Um, Fortunately, my husband pays the bills. I help out with groceries and I pay my own cell phone bill and, some things that way. But, you know, I Grubhub to get money and that's my extra money. So it's not as hard for me to save up. I wouldn't need much to go back down, not for 2 days. So it's just something I want to do just for myself to kind of close that chapter and be able to come back and say, I had a good time. It wasn't, Florida's not this lasting miserable thing that I went through. Um, but you know what I saw down there that broke my heart when I first got down there? Um, I saw some people walking through parking lots at gas stations or wherever, and they looked like zombies. I don't know what they were on, but it was so heartbreaking because literally it's like their feet are dragging and the whole top part of their body, they're just like limp and flopping. And one guy literally just kind of went out on the parking lot and people were just stepping over him like this is an everyday occurrence kind of thing. And I was like, wow, because you see things on videos and you're like, there's no way people are really doing this. And I saw in one video they were calling some of the people who do this, and they'll kind of get in a weird position and they'll just be there like they're frozen, and they were calling it the fentanyl something. I forget exactly what they called it in the video. And I'm like, no, sometimes I get skeptical. Like, is this just for, clicks and views or something? Um, but no, I actually saw some of it down there. And it was really heartbreaking, to see. And I kept looking at Ken like, do you see this? This is a big tourist place. So I didn't see it constant in Miami Beach. But I did see it, some, and it was just really heartbreaking to see. It was almost like, the you see the zombie shows where the zombie, they're not trying to eat people and stuff, and all that craziness. But you see the zombie show where they're just kind of dead and just walking, that's what it was like. That's what it was like seeing some of these people. And by the time I would see them, I was like, I want to get a video of this so I can show people, look, this is really happening. This isn't just on social media that people are setting up. Like, this stuff's really actually happening. And I'm seeing it in front of my face. And then by the time I get my phone out to record, the lights changed and we're going on up the road. But yeah, it just blew my mind to see some of that. Bill, I'm sorry, I was chuckling at your last sentence. Other than that, it's a great tractor.
Yeah.
It's a great lawn ornament too.
Needs all that. It's brand new and needs all that. Ooh.
That sounds like me. I had a Suburban, and I got it because I had an Expedition before that, and I took the third row out of the Expedition and put it in the back of my Suburban. I didn't have cargo room, but I needed the other seat
Right.
more. I had 9 kids, and so I got the Suburban and had the seat from my Expedition installed, the things in the floor and everything to actually install that seat. So I actually had 3 rows in the back instead of the two, in the front. Um, but after my kids started moving out stuff, I didn't need it anymore. So everybody was like, "Oh, get rid of it, get a car." Well, I saw this 97 Camaro. And anybody who knows me knows I am a Camaro girl. Um, I would love that. I would give just about anything to have another Camaro. So anyway, I saw this 97 Camaro. And prior to that, I had a 1980 and a 1983. So this was a whole lot newer, but I didn't care. It was a Camaro. And the guy offered to do an even trade. So I took somebody who works on cars to check it out, and he's assuring me, "Oh, it's great." And he's rebuilt Camaros. I think he just, I don't know, he had to be drunk or something because I did the trade, and I had the car 11 hours, and the engine blew up in it.
Oh shit.
there was there was a bunch of metal shavings in it. And I found out that they had put like 50 weight, I think they said it was 50 weight oil or something, so that it was all in the bottom.
Yeah.
And just the test drive we did wouldn't have stirred it up enough for us to really see it. Because even when we got back from that little test drive, we checked the oil, saw nothing. Brakes were needing to be replaced, but they didn't seem that bad when we test drove it. But there was a lot of issues. Um, so anyway, I had to save up. I worked in Lexington, and I was living down on Lake Kennedy, and so anyway, I would stay on a friend's couch and pay her gas money to drive me to work. And I would do that Monday through Thursday. Then I would pay somebody else on Friday to drive me back home. And I go home for the weekend. And then I had a roommate. I would pay my roommate to drive me back up to Lexington and stay on my friend's couch all week for work. And I did that for 2 months to get the money together to rebuild the engine, or do a rebuild engine. So I did that, got my car back, and I had my car for 2 months. And I called my roommate and I said, "Hey, I'm passing through Nicholasville trying to get home, but I'm not going to make it. Can you leave and start heading back up to Nicholasville?" Which was about a 30-minute drive. And my roommate's like, "What?" My engine's getting ready to shut down. It's doing the same thing it did before. I said, "I'm not going to make it." And about that time, I'm like, "Nope, we're done. I'm trying to get my car off the road." I said, "I'm sitting over here in front of Zaxby's in Nicholasville. All right, I'm on my way." Had to do that again, but it was tax season. So my roommate said, "I'm the one who told you the car was a great buy. Said, I'm going to cover the rent this month. Don't worry about your half. This is my way of trying to say I'm sorry. So take your half of the rent money, put that towards another engine." So I had to do a whole other engine. And don't know why it went out that time. I don't know. I was told that when they put the other engine in, um, that they didn't do something right, and there were still some metal shavings or something that had been left. I don't know. But anyway, it started going again. And I was like, "Man, screw this." I'd never had a car payment in my life. I'd always just outright bought my cars, just saved up and bought them. Um, so when I saw the second engine was messing up, oh, and then the thing in the doors broke that holds your window up. So the window would start coming down at an angle, which was fun because I worked for health insurance. And um, so here I am dressed in my office attire, my hair and makeup all done and stuff. And it would be raining in the morning when I'm trying to get to work. And keep in mind, I've got a 45-minute to an hour drive depending on traffic. And my window's like this with rain. I get to work and I'd be soaking wet. So finally, when it was going bad again, I said, "No, this car is cursed or something. There's no reason for the engine to be going out again, and I can't keep putting engines in every 2 months or so." So I got rid of it and got a Mitsubishi Eclipse, and that was my first time ever in my life having a car payment. But yeah, I want another Camaro, but yeah, that really stunk. But anyway, hearing Bill talk about his tractor and the problems. It's like, again, I'm like, yeah, I'm not a tractor, but I remember going through that with my.
Mm,
I don't want a
been
car
there and done
payment,
that
but
several times.
oh, it stinks.
Luckily, I know how to rebuild engines. So, and
I
I
do
had,
not.
let's see, when I was in the military, I had a 67 Camaro. So,
Nice.
yeah, it was nice. It was
Yeah.
real. But,
My 80 was my favorite. My prior husband, he had come in the house and laid a title down on the counter for me and said, "Here, sign this." I said, what'd you buy?
yeah,
I don't, I don't know if I want the car or not. Like, what am I signing here? And he says, "Oh, no, you're going to want it." And I didn't really look to see because they'll tell you what it is on there. But he says, "No," he says, "you told me you've always wanted a Camaro, and I had the opportunity to buy one." He said, "Now you can't drive it into Memphis." We were living in Hernando, Mississippi at the time and had a fish and reptile store in Memphis. And again, about a 45-minute to an hour drive. He's like, "You can't drive it into Memphis yet. In fact, you really shouldn't drive it at all." He said, "There's no tread on the tires." And I'm like, "Why would you buy me a car with no tread on the tires that I can't drive?" And he's like, "Oh, no, we're not going to have a problem getting rid of them. They're racing slicks." He said the car was a race car. Okay, my ears are perking up. "What do you mean it was a race car?" He says, "Go out and look in the driveway." So I went out there and it was a black 1980 Camaro with red seats. It had no radio, no air conditioning. I did not care. Did not care. I just was like, "Oh my gosh." He's like, "I just want to make one of your childhood dreams come true." He says, "There you go." And he said, "Those are called racing slicks." He said, "It was a race car." He says, "So it's going to move for you." But he said, "You can't do it out here on the streets on those." So took us about a week, but I remember pulling up to a tire shop. We did take it into Memphis to a tire shop. And I'm telling you, when we pulled in, all the men in that place, all the employees and everybody, they were surrounding my car. "Oh man, what do you want for those tires? How much you want?" And I'm looking at them like, "There's no trade. What are you going to, who wants them?" And they're looking at me like, "Who wouldn't want them?" So they're looking at me like I'm crazy, and I'm looking at them like they're crazy. I want tires I can drive on. I don't have any use for them. So my prior husband, he said, "Hey, just swap us out for the best tires you have." He said, "I don't want her and the kids getting stuck, halfway between Hernando and Mississippi." So the guy took us in and he had a tire up against the wall. He said, "This is our best tire." He said, "I want you to see this." He took a knife and he goes, wham, into the tire. And he said, "You see it's still up." He said, "It'll stay up for about 30, 40 minutes, thereabout." He said, "It doesn't go immediately flat." He said, "It's got a wire thing in it that helps keep it together." And he said, "That's our top tire in the whole place." He said, "I'll give you 4 of them for that car in exchange for those slicks." So we were like, "Okay." I didn't care that car had no radio or AC. I did not care. That was my baby. I was like, I can always put a radio in if I want it. I wouldn't care now. She give me a fixer upper or anything. That's okay. I need another hobby. I've already fixed the house up. I need a new hobby. But that's what I thought of when I saw Bill's comments about the tractor, and you were like, "Again?" I was like, "Yeah, like my 97." And I used to say my 97 Camaro because it sat there, for a couple months each time it happened. And I just told people it was my new lawn ornament. So it's pretty. Won't run, but it's sure pretty sitting there.
right. Okay, I got to call Tammy and give her her deal, so we might as well end the show now
Yeah.
and everything stuff. But we want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Bill, thank you again for joining us. Ruth, Mike, everybody that's joined us. And we're back again. here on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Central Time. So always check us out here on Life Unfiltered. So everybody have a good evening and we'll see you next week.
Good night, everyone.